On the minus side, we had scheduling issues. I'm sure you've already dealt with them to get to this point in the programming. I'm sure you've already dealt with them. Scheduling is always a challenge, and initially we started to try to run one in the fall and one in the spring. And the truth of the matter was, when we kept running it in the spring, we kept running into sports programming, we ended up focusing just on a fall program Wednesday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. and that ended up being the Building Bridges time frame. So entire school districts began to do their programming around the fact that they knew every year there was a 3 to 6 Wednesday afternoon that maybe 15 teachers from all the area schools might be out of the building. Another component of that was that if you want to call it a minus, you're really a drive time away from your Building Bridges site. So some of our best Building Bridges sites aren't necessarily within 5 minutes of your schools, and if you're like us, you have teachers from several different schools in a district, so you have to look at that whole district and say, geez, this might be 5 minutes from those teachers, but it was 35 minutes from the people on the other side of the district. So you'll always be working on schedules and distance. We would have a lot of people make suggestions about companies to go visit, but they would be an hour away, and that definitely was something we couldn't pull off. We did make a visit to one place, a chip manufacturer. This is a microchip manufacturer that was an hour away for most of our teachers. We did it on a Wednesday afternoon. We left early. We knew we were going to come late. We had some carpooling going on, so we accomplished it that way. We visited a shipyard for one of our visits, and in that case, we couldn't visit during the day because there were just several thousand employees climbing around big things that if they fell, you would be hurt. So we went in on a Saturday, and they arranged for a big Saturday visit when it was very quiet, but still got to talk to some shipbuilders. So there are pluses and minuses, but they're not really that. They are just considerations that you have to balance when it comes to where you're going to go. Examples of aha moments were really built around examples of companies we went to visit, and for the most part, the aha moments started with the shattering of preconceived notions. So we had an awful lot of activities that visits that we attended where we all have our preconceived notions about what kind of a place you're about to see, what's most important to those employers. And it was in the shattering of those preconceived notions, really getting to see things that you otherwise wouldn't see, that we felt we got our biggest learning. First place we went to one of our seasons was a machine shop, a very high-end machine shop where the preconceived notion before we even went into this place was that the machine shops are always noisy, greasy, dirty, sort of the World War II model. And we had that discussion out in the parking lot, went inside, and the first thing you notice, of course, you're on raised floors, good lighting, lots of air conditioning, and very quiet. So in the course of the conversation, finding out, of course, that modern day machine shops look a lot like this because there's so many computers involved in their operation and so much technology that goes into their operation. If you're building tools, there might still be a lot of matter and oils and things in the air, but they still go to great pains to make sure that you can eat off the floor. So those examples of aha moments start the day you present yourself at the door. They would continue in the case of this place where they made car parts, and the teachers would ask, because there was a big Q&A session that was also part of our second hour when we were on our tour, and after we'd been handed off by the president or the HR director, ask a lot of questions about what do they look for their employees, what are the greatest skills that they need their employees to come in with, and so on. And often the questions were leading questions. We were in the machine shop. I remember a teacher saying, so I assume that the greatest skill that we could really be helping you with is math skills. For your teachers, not a bad, I mean for your employees, not a bad question. And the leader of the group was startled, and she said, and by the way, that was another preconceived notion. An awful lot of the engineers we ran into were female engineers. So then schools started to notice that and started to invite the female engineers back into their schools to talk about how they got their education. One more way that this program served us that we did not anticipate. where was I? So you're walking around the place, and one of the teachers says, I assume math is the biggest skill we can provide them with, and the engineer in charge of us said, oh no, it's not math at all, it's English. And you could have knocked them all down with a feather because the English teacher couldn't understand it, the math teacher couldn't understand it, and the leader of the group went on to say, you see these tags, you see everything that's moving around this place, we don't have programmers here, we have programs that run and tell us what to do, and everything it tells us what to do is on this tag. So all the work products were on the tag, and people had to be able to read and read accurately every single time. So that was sort of the next layer of an aha moment. We went to another place. Aha moments were everywhere and in every form. We went to a place that wasn't more than a couple hundred yards from our biggest high school. None of the faculty, none of the teachers had ever been there. And it was an engineering company, very quiet place, nice parking lot, nice building, but it had been there forever. No one really knew what they did there. They did a lot of work on wastewater treatment and design and construction of facilities. So we took a tour in there, and when you're in an engineering firm, again, it's quiet, they're working at computers. And our Spanish teacher from this school was at the back of the line, and she was just chatting because she had actually said, you know, it's an engineering firm, there's nothing here for me. I don't think I can learn. I'm not sure what I could tell my students. Up at the front of the line, the vice president, who is leading us around, says to the people at the front of the line, we were a very confined space, so we were stretched out, and the Spanish teacher's way back here, and the VP says, oh, by the way, we're doing all this work, and if any of you know any Spanish-speaking engineers, we would be thrilled because we can't hire enough of them. Well, whispering down the lane, the teacher at the end said, what did I hear? They're looking for Spanish-speaking engineers, and she fought her way up to the front, and she had not a clue that, in fact, this company right next to their school was selling so much in the world of water treatment plants in Central and South America in many Spanish-speaking countries that they couldn't provide enough, so they have hired translators to help them, but they really needed Spanish-speaking engineers. Of course, what happened after that? The Spanish teacher arranged for her own visit over to this engineering company. They walked across the field. They didn't even need buses to go over there and learn more about how their Spanish skills could be put to work and no longer be the language that too many of us had in high school where you took 2 or 3 years and that was the end of that. So that was really, really exciting.